Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first solo episode, episode 2 of the MPBA Community Podcast. Right now is just me in the Discord stage right now. That's where the radio platform normally is. And it is going to be quite an interesting episode because, as you can tell from the title, I'm just going with the flow. Going with the flow because I just wanted to see what would happen if I did not have a topic, if I didn't plan, if I had to just make something in advance or whatever. Because sometimes I wonder why I'm even doing this. But there's a good reason. Number one, I really want to do something consistently. And I think if I am able to upload every Thursday, regardless of what happens, then yeah, it'll work. Of course, the first episode, first of anything, always, and I mean always, has like a big fanfare, big support. Really, you see the real nature of the support you get in episode 2. So today, this recording was done on Monday, August 5th, 7:13 p.m. Central Standard Time, aka Minnesota, Texas, that part of the world kind of time. And it is raining all day. Very aesthetic rain, I must say. But it is raining all day. And, I really wonder what, people have. What do they think of rain in the first place? I know a lot of folks, especially those who live in areas where it rains and there's a lack of sunshine, often have a negative perception of rain itself. However, when it comes to folks that live in sunny-ish, tropical-ish environments, and where it rains often, also, such as Indonesia, for example, they have a different kind of mindset. Like it's just part of life. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't, but it's not necessarily mood ruining per se. You feel me? So it's very interesting how like rain affects people's opinions, their feelings, their mood from one time to another. And in the comment section of the YouTube channel, let me know, what do you think? Do you think rain affects your mood or not? Well, while you think of an answer, I will give you my answer. So, as you guys may not know, I grew up in Dubai for the most of my formative years. Since grade 1 till grade 12, basically continuously. And I always appreciated rain. I always appreciated how it cooled the entire area down. For folks who may not know, Dubai is a desert, frankly speaking. And because of the fact that it is a desert, it's hot as a lot. I'm not going to swear, but it's really hot. And so whenever it did rain, it was very much appreciated, much needed, even though there have been massive flooding due to the fact. And recently, last rainy season, so last winter, essentially, the flooding got so bad. Sorry, not winter, it was actually earlier this year. Regardless, the point is, it rained a lot. And, it flooded because we have no storm drains out there and whatnot. But always created for a good situation where I wouldn't go to school, so obviously I would appreciate that. Unfortunately, for the post-COVID kids, they'll have school online, so that is an L. So yeah, right now we have an audience member. It seems like Manon, as you guys may remember from the previous episode, is there. So if Manon would like to have a chat right here, then that's cool. If not, he can casually listen and interact with the chat, I guess, if he feels like it. But for your information, Manon, I'm just talking about rain. How does it affect people's moods, attitudes? Does it ruin their day? Does it improve their day? But for me, it is honestly an improvement. It's a sign of good luck. And yeah, so by that logic, I should go to like Indonesia or something if I want to have good luck all day. But that's besides the point. It's mostly like symbolic timing on your personal front. That is what creates your attitude with rain. Manon says, I like rain. Water makes me rain bestow me. All right, he likes rain, and that is pretty cool. And since Manin is from the great nation of Latvia, I would ask him, what are your countrymen's attitude towards rain from your life experience? Do they like it also as you do, or do they not? Does it make them depressed because they barely see the sun already because how the weather is, or do they enjoy it? Because earlier I had a theory that depending on how much sunlight a place gets, that affects their attitude with rain. I said Indonesia gets a lot of sun often. It's a very humid tropical environment, and then the rain comes through, cooling the area down. So for the most part, people are happy with it, and obviously, it's important for rice cultivation and things of that nature. So yeah, I know with the episode title of "Going with the Flow," us talking about water is very, very appropriate. I mean, we could talk about the water cycle as well. People's perceptions of rivers. I love rivers. Never dealt with it personally. No, sorry, I lied. I have. Living in Minnesota, the Great Mississippi River starts in our state. So I have been dealing with rivers, but historically, when I grew up in Dubai, I did not. Manny says we do kind of enjoy it. We are mostly worried about the gusts of wind after the rain. That is true. Yeah, in some parts of the world, after a rain, storm, whatnot, it can get quite windy due to the changing. Actually, you know what? I'm not a geologist. Sorry, wrong word. I'm not a meteorologist, so I would not know the exact expertise. But that is something I would look into. Who knows? Maybe one of our MPBA members is interested in such a topic. Maybe I can interview them, or I'll just find a person to talk to and see what happens. But yeah, how are you doing, Manon? Is everything cool? How's life? What's new with you? And are there any significant rivers that you have a special relationship with? Because I was talking about the Mississippi River. It's so vast, so big. I've crossed it many times, like across one, and sometimes in Illinois, like near Chicago or in Minnesota. It is a pretty big river, and I have a lot of memories there, especially in a particular creek where me and my friends from university would go hang out, chill, and yeah, Manon right now is chilling. He was at a party on the previous Saturday. That's cool, Manon. You're socializing. That is important. Socialization is very important. In fact, I had a pretty hilarious and interesting moment pertaining to socialization, which is, I believe, began 2 days ago. So here in the Twin Cities, we have an annual festival called the Slavic Festival, where Slavs, all of them, West, East, Southern Slavs, enjoy being Slavic. And I was managing the beer garden for that day. And it was very interesting. We had some imported Polish beers and vodkas and whatever. The first day, very, very much fast paced. I had no time to sit down. Just selling, 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 trying to cure tips. And because, tipping culture is a thing in America. And then the second day, barely anything happened. Like, I might as well have drunk an entire keg because that would have kept me entertained. But alas, I didn't do that because I wasn't really feeling it. But given that was not able to keep my tips because my tips are going to the organization I worked for, Russians Against War Minnesota, and all the money all the tips rather, I procured around $200-ish will be used to send letters to political prisoners and to receive their letters back. Like I do realize the importance of that kind of work, but it was kind of disheartening because I thought it would be a moment where I would earn a little bit of a small, money because I would need that. So I just took a lot of crates of beer instead. So I'm cost saving. I'm not going to spend that much on alcohol and whatnot. So yeah, there I met a lot of interesting folks, a lot of Polish people, and so that was interesting. And in fact, Manon, did you meet new people in the party you went to? How was the socialization process? Did you feel like it was worth your time? Did you have fun? Like, what's up? So while Manon thinks of an answer, if he does decide to answer that, um, I would, throw the question back to you, the podcast listening audience. Like, what's a recent moment of socialization did you have? Did school begin for you? I know in some parts of the world, school is beginning because they either had an early summer vacation, whatnot, etc., things of that nature. Or did you go to a party, a wedding, whatnot? Fun fact about me, I have never been to a wedding or a funeral in my life so far. So if you in the audience, you in the listenership of the podcast, if you, I don't know, been to a wedding, let me know how that was like and whether you think there's some cultural moments where it'll be a little different or not. But as far as I'm concerned, never been to one. And so, yeah, it's going to be pretty awkward, the wedding planning, if me and my girlfriend eventually get married. So, yeah, welcome, Hoover. You may remember Hoover from the previous episode. She is a Discord era member of the MPBA community. But more importantly, she is the amazing artist that did yesterday's thumbnail, and she also did the podcast logo. So, big up to her. If any of you two want to come up and speak, just chat normally because the theme is to go with the flow. Just chill, just chat, whatever. Feel free to do so. Because yeah, based on the formats that I've decided to do, you can either talk through the chat. I will interact with you through the chat like a stream, or you could just hop on here, just send an invite, and I'll have you come over. All right. Oh, Hoover, you want to speak? Let's go. 1 second. My mouse fell asleep. And I've accepted, I believe, your invite. There you go. So when you're ready with your mics, whatever.
Hey. It's going pretty good. I heard, I joined in at a weird time. It was when you were talking about weddings. Well, the first wedding I ever remember going to was held in this outdoor park, which I thought, that's how they're usually held. But then the second wedding I ever went to, it was held in a cathedral, and I'm like, this is a lot different.
That's quite fascinating. Well, I have not been. The only idea of weddings I have is from media, and that too Hollywood stuff or Bollywood. So, not really how it may really be. Let me quickly address Manin's comments in the chat. He said, yeah, I did meet new people, although I hadn't really exchanged much in terms of dialogue. But seeing new faces and places, it was good. Just a roller coaster of emotions. Yeah. And so, Hoover, that was a response to a prompt. I said, what was a recent moment of socialization? So for me, it was me working at the beer garden in the Slavic festival that happened in my town. And so I just talked about my experience there. Did you have a recent moment of socialization that you would like to share?
Well, kind of. I have a job currently, so I'm kind of forced to socialize since I am a food runner for a hospital.
Oh, okay. I see.
So every day that I'm at work, I am constantly talking with patients, like, hey, what's your name? What's your date of birth? Is the food all right? And, if I have time for it, I'll do some side chatter.
I see. And so is most of your chatter just like small talk that you may have with the patient, say, oh, hey, here's your food, and maybe with the staff that you need to work with? Is that basically it?
Yeah, it is it for the most part, but I'm also talking with my coworkers, and usually whenever we have a moment of, it's pretty calm, there's no orders coming in, we can work on cleaning and such. We get to joke around. I preferably like talking to them about music and asking, hey, what music do you like to listen to? And, if it's something appropriate, we play it in the back because that's where I'm usually held at.
I see, I see. Well, at least you got that. So yeah, no, thanks for sharing. I mean, I did work at the beer garden out of work because I work for a nonprofit, Russians Against War Minnesota, and part of the deal for us to have the stall that we do was to have somebody work the beer garden at the same time, and whatever tips we got there, we got to keep, you know. And so essentially, that's what I did. So it was mostly work. It was just mostly me being like, "Oh yeah, here you go. Just chatting through the deal, just being a salesman. No experience in the industry, but it seems I did a good enough job, according to the organizers. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is my first ever job. Unfortunately, I had to put in my 2 weeks recently because where I'm going right now, I'm gonna be living in a town that's about an hour and a half away, so I won't be able to have as much time working there. But, like, from talking with my boss, she said that all my coworkers really like the energy and, how I'm pretty upbeat most of the time. And they had
Fair. Like but yeah, no, finish what you were saying. My bad.
No, I'm just saying, like, they had no issues with me. That was just about the end of my sentence.
Worries. Yeah, that is, at least that's the good news, right? It's like you're taking the actions you are because of your needs, not because of an external factor per se. And honestly, I can relate to that very well for my first job. And maybe Manny, you can tell us about your first job if you would like to. But for me, it was to be a public security dispatcher for my university. And I was apparently the best, like, just best, dispatcher they ever had. Because I did the late night shifts, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. I handled most of the 911 situations that took place. I had to, I did a lot of things, but after my unfortunate, like, pedestrian versus car accident, car hitting me basically is what's up. I got concussed to the point where I could not work that job reliably because I have to stare at cameras, manage the radio, manage the phone. It's not the environment for a concussed person. So I had to quit that job because of that, but not really because I did not perform well enough. And I got some valuable experience from that.
Yeah, I definitely understand that part, considering that right now I am, by all means, technically disabled. And so I struggle with being, upright for long periods of time because it starts, like, messing with the nerves in my bad leg.
Okay. All right, let me answer Manon's question real quick. He says, "What is official job? I just do lifting for my uncle and he pays me some cash." All right, that is a job technically, and thank you for asking your clarifying question. It's a job that you do where you get a stable salary or a stable rate of income. So I assume it's the same with Hoover, but we have like a contract where we be paid or compensated a certain amount for the amount of work we do, whether it be a per hour charge or whether it be a salary. So if you ever had a moment like that, Manon, feel free to share. If you don't, that's cool. You could talk about your job of lifting things for your uncle, how often you do it, things of that nature, what things you carry, if you wish to disclose such information. But yeah, do you think you learned any valuable experiences, skills that you can carry forward with you in your time as a food runner, Hoover?
Um, well, definitely showing a lot of empathy and compassion, which I already do as an automatic thing because I've been taught, you gotta treat people with respect, you gotta understand, what they're going through. And so I put myself in their position, you're stuck in a hospital. You don't really want to be there for a long period of time. There are some patients who they don't get to go out as easily.
See, no, I totally get that. And honestly, you're doing a big job. God's work, if I dare to say, because I believe the medical systems all over the world, but also especially the United States, right, and the United Kingdom, are going through some heavy strains, especially all the healthcare workers and whoever works in that industry. And so, I appreciate, your service of doing that and whatnot. And yes, I think we do need more empathy in this world in general because there's a lot of lack of it. There's a lot of people being stuck in their own paradigms, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is extremely destructive in terms of trying to create social harmony, cohesion, and respect. Maintaining another human's dignity. And I think that might be something you might be able to talk to because you may have met and seen patients of all sorts of conditions. And just because they're unable to do something, they may feel bad about it, and so just be empathetic and whatnot, is a form of maintaining their dignity.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that because with certain patients, I've actually what I've had to do is I've had to change my way of speaking to them so that they can understand me better and that I can understand, how exactly they're being able to communicate with me. Like, for instance, some patients may not be able to communicate as well due to either something physically wrong with themselves or something mentally wrong. And I'm not saying in a bad way. There are some patients who, they've had something traumatic happen to them, so they're, struggling to be able to communicate in that sort of way. Or just simply I would say it's this sort of barrier between languages. And you need to find both a conscious and unconscious way to communicate through that barrier.
I see. And you know what, Hoover? Maybe we both can just have an episode of you talking your experience overall as a food runner, because I think that's a perspective no one knows about. Like, I forgot that was a job. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. And so we can have a separate episode of that just to like give more detail and attention. And just because I got curious, maybe that might be episode 3. We might just record it right away, or just another day, up to your schedule. You feel me? But yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
actually, you know what? Since the title of the episode is "Going with the Flow," how does going with the flow look for you?
Going with the flow, how that looks for me is you get done what you can get done in that certain amount of time. And if something goes wrong, like, hey, a patient dropped their tray or a patient didn't get what they want, you just, you say sorry, you apologize, you assure them that they will get what they are missing or what needs to be replaced, and then you go back to the kitchen and you just make the trays.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And how about beyond the work context? How does going with the flow look for you? And I guess, man, you can also answer that question. How does going with the flow look for you? How is that experience? So yeah. So beyond work, how does going with the flow look like?
Going with the flow looks like when a grandparent has plans that you didn't expect. And you are like, "Oh my goodness, I wasn't told about this, but I'm still going to go because it's quality time with people and you might as well do it if you're doing nothing else."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, and I guess going with the flow does entail a certain level of spontaneity, or the ability to deal with spontaneous situations, I suppose. But
Yes,
yeah,
being flexible.
being flexible. But at what point should we like not be flexible? You know what I'm saying? Because like,
Um,
um, for example, if I just said go went with the flow with everything, maybe I would not get particular tasks that I wanted or needed to do done. For example, you know what I mean? But I'm sure that that looks different for different people. You know?
absolutely. Like, there needs to be a point where you can't bend. Like say you have something that you need to get done, but someone's asking you to, "Hey, let's hang out." You gotta say, "Hey, no, I'm sorry, I can't hang out. I have to get this done, or else I will never be able to get it done at another time." Or like, it's due. It's due like within an hour or so. You can't hang out. It needs to be completed, or you can't progress.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Manon just gave his answer to the question I asked him. So his understanding of going with the flow is the following: sometimes the flow leads down to waterfall. Okay, that's a literal understanding. But also he said you have to be conscientious of the flow, and that's also a very interesting point. A point that I guess transcends the from how the water cycle works. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you have to be conscious, like conscientiousness of the flow itself. I feel like the way we're starting to talk about the flow could be similar to the way how in Star Wars they talk about the Force. Just the nature of the universe around us. And whatnot.
There, yeah, there's always a sense of spontaneity with life, but at the same time, you either, I mean, it's going to be hard. You can either fight it or you can go along with it, and sometimes you just have to fight it.
Uh huh. I guess, and I think that's what Manin potentially meant by the you have to be conscientious of the flow. You know, you have to be aware, you have to be cognizant, I guess, of how things are going around you, so that you make the best decision for yourself or for those you care for, or rather those in your self interest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I absolutely understand.
And speaking of self interest, I was thinking about this a while ago because I had a series of personal incidents in which such a question was triggered. But Hoover and Manon, let me know your thoughts. When do you think another human being, another individual, becomes part of your self interest? Or, in other words, at what point do you start to care for somebody else in a deeply meaningful manner? You know, where I guess logically it would not, like, you make sacrifices, right? But emotionally it is sound or it makes sense.
Um, I guess to put it that way, I think when a person starts becoming integral to your day to day is when you've accepted that person as something that you will like see as a constant. You know, that person won't leave you behind. That person won't, just suddenly stop one day.
I see. And so that means the opposite is true. Like a person who was always been in there, right? Suddenly just distance themselves away. Would you? Because my hunch would be like the amount of care you got is hinging upon what you guys would have built thus far. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a certain level of maintenance to maintain that status. But I feel like such a thing would not necessarily be valid for certain relations like a romantic partner or a family member, you know, because there are already inbuilt responsibilities in that human relationship arrangement. But I guess with friends, you know, I think is a big example of this dynamic you just talked about, you know.
Well, I can say this. You may you may have someone who's always been a constant in your life, but you can choose whether you want them to be that constant or not. You can choose to cut them off. Like if something, you don't want to have that aspect of them haunting you.
Noted. I see. Well, Manon says this: it comes with time, it all builds up brick by brick. So I think it does add on to what you had said earlier. Um, but if I had to give my like complete answer to the question I'd asked you guys, I would say that the moment another individual becomes part of your self interest is when you know, you guys like the both side is like, imagine it as a bridge, you know, um, and you know this bridge is crossing between two countries. It takes collaboration between those two countries to build and maintain that bridge, you know. And there's so many nuance and things that comes in the actual construction, maintenance, and regulation of that said bridge, right? But it's all worth it because there are gains one way or the other. Maybe initially it would be like trade stuff, you know. Oh, he's good with editing. I'm gonna ask him to help. Oh, he has knowledge in XYZ. I'm just gonna take, you know, ask him questions so I can gain that knowledge. But then I guess when that relation becomes so beneficial beyond that basic you know, absolute material transaction, you could say, right, where you beyond to like start to like the other side for who they are, I think that's when a friendship is formed. And I guess that's when a human being, you know, becomes part of your self-interest. You start to care for them. And the opposite is true, you know, just reverse that. Because you know, if only one side is maintaining the relationship, the bridge is going to be very expensive to maintain and the other person is going to burn out. Or if nobody maintains the bridge, it'll just collapse, you know? So I guess if you're able to, you know, message your friend few months, days, maybe years down the lane, and you're still able to communicate as if nothing really happened, then I would say that's a pretty damn strong bridge.
I would say so myself, considering that there are a lot of people throughout your life that you will meet and that you may gain or you may lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There are there are bridges that are always being built and there are bridges that are always being burnt.
I see. And yeah, no, those are bridges. In fact, this might be a silly question, but what's the most recent interesting bridge you guys have come across?
Um, I guess my most recent interesting bridge has really come from bonding with people over like something that's, you know, strange to bond with if you think about it outside of the scope of how it's thought of normally. Like, for me, I've met friends through having snakes.
Oh, snakes?
Yes, snakes. Pet snakes.
Wait, how did you bump into those folks?
I I was walking around with my snake wrapped around my arm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, this sounds like a story that needs to be told one day. Like, because we are right now, according to my recorder, we are 31 minutes into the episode, and I'm planning to end it at the 40-minute mark. So I want to save that story of why were you just walking around with a snake? Like, from what you said so far, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is pretty, yeah. And whatnot.
Leave that for episode 3.
Episode
Leave
three.
it for episode
Episode three.
3.
Episode three. Food runner walks in town with snake on neck. Why? Question mark. Uh, thud sound effect. Honestly, whoever is the agent or manager or mod or whatever you guys call it, add the thud sound effect, please, to the soundboard because for the server because it's such a critical and like influential, consequential sound effect, also known as a Vine boom effect. Okay, because bro, I unironically say thud sound effect like when I feel like there should be a thud sound effect. So, dang. Do you have a sound effect like that? Like the one that is how do I say it? Like that plays in your head when a particular moment happens. Like for me, it's the thud sound effect, or when a bruh moment happens, it's either bruh or a thud sound effect.
Um, I guess my specific sound effect. Oh, I can hear you through. I can hear myself through. Um, I guess the specific sound effect for me would be the one of the Minecraft cave sounds. Like it goes.
Ah, okay, yeah, that is actually a good choice. Wow. Okay, Manon and it seems Sealand join us. Welcome to the live radio show segment, which will turn into a podcast. What? Real quick, what are the sound effects that play in your head most consistently? Like for me, it's the vine boom or thud sound effect. For Hoover, it is one of the Minecraft cave noises. But earlier, Sealand had asked me, Jack, I must know, how do you feel about the server icon? And my unironic official statement pertaining to that icon, which I will not display because, if you find the server, then you find out. We'll keep it a secret for the audience. If it still will be that, how many years down the lane. It is what it is. You feel me? Like it is a piece of art. It is somebody's form of expression, which whoever is responsible for the logo decided to. Oh, you created it. Oh, that's good to know. Well, artist, I hope it is provoking the reactions that you wish and you intended from not only me but other members of the community, if it was intended. But it's good, good art, and it is interesting. It's just celebrate me and Jan's gay victory. Well, congratulations on your I don't know what exact victory you're talking about, but congratulations on your victory. Um, the popularity contest. Lol. Oh, okay. You know what, Sealine? One day you can tell the people here about the popularity contest, but we do not have the time for that. Answer my question though. What sound effect? Oh, that's why you're purple because you won. Okay, I might as well just give. You know what? Someone explain the popularity contest in a way that I could tell other people because it's a little bit wacky. But yeah, I mean, what do you think of the server icon?
Uh, um, It's something.
It's something. Okay, that's fair enough. According to Sealand, who is obviously very biased because he's the creator of the icon, it's amazing. That's his comment. Very good. Okay, Manin answered for the previous question I'd asked. Too many different songs. They all mix and mash. You know what? Honestly, I feel the same sometimes. I wonder if this is a generational thing or not. And Sealand says mine is the fart sound effect too. Noted. Okay, that is understandable. Well, guys, if you want to hear the sounds, then yeah. Sealand wishes to speak. Okay, Sealand, before I let you on, because we don't have time, what would you like to speak about? Just text it. Because we only have 5 minutes, and if it's something you like to press funny
Okay.
buttons. Okay, yeah, that's not happening. I'm not letting you up here. It's gonna be a long day to edit all those out.
No,
Don't boo me. You know what? Maybe.
I'm not booing you. I'm booing
Oh,
Sealand.
just making sure. Sorry. I mean, it's unclear because he's obviously not a speaker, right? So, isn't that weird though? Like how miscommunication could kind of happen because we're in one medium of communication and they're communicating with us through another medium. Like this is the equivalent of us being radio hosts talking to aliens through live chat, but because of latency due to the speed of light, of which will be very slow because it's not the speed of light that we receive the messages for. It can be like a bit delayed. I played a bit of Stellaris, which is like a space game, so that's why my mind's there. Just trying to decipher, alien languages. But yeah. All right. So with that out of the way, I think we've gone with the flow enough because sometimes, as Manin says, you have to be conscientious of the flow, and right now I'm ran out of it. You know. So with that out of the way, first thank you Hoover for just hopping on the mic. Literally, it made the episode a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. Thank you for Manin for keeping me company while I talk to myself, which is Among Us. I don't know. And thank you Sealand for just randomly crashing in towards the end. Maybe we all could go to the normal VC, chat a little bit, but then other than that, for you folks and the podcast listenership, thank you for listening. Thank you for reaching all the way to the end. If you did, and yeah, y'all have a good day. Recording ends now.